Moose Watch!
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Moose Watch, and the Manitoba Moose have announced 11 training camp invites that will be joining the Moose for the time being to see if they can get a AHL contract with the team. I'm going to go through all 11 of them, but I've kind of put them into three different categories. The categories are Admirals, Manitoba, and Mystery Box. And that is because I've started to notice a trend that a lot of times there'll be plenty of Admirals players that played on the team last year or are planning to play on the team this year that are invited to camp. There are plenty of people with links to Manitoba, and there are plenty of people that are kind of surprises, I guess, to see on the list. So we're going to go through all 11 of them in this video. You could tap around. You should have a bit of an inkling on when and which player we are talking about. So yeah, underway. Let's go to talking about the Admirals of the section. Let's start this off with somebody who is in the Admirals section, but could easily be in the Manitoba section. That is forward Tanner Andrew. Tanner Andrew was born February 11th in the year 2000 from Virden, Manitoba, and he grew up through the MJHL system, a system, by the way, that I am slowly beginning to learn a lot more about. From that, he then went and played in the BCHL very briefly, the MJHL, BCHL, he played in that system, and then he played in the NCAA for the Rochester Institute of Technology. He had 4 points in 29 games, 18 points in 38 games, 21 points in 38 games, and then 16 points in 34 games in his final year where he was the captain, and then joined the Norfolk Admirals at the end of their season, and in 9 games he had 4 points. Interesting forward acquisition here, or forward tryout option here. I'm curious to see if they think he has untapped offensive talent here, like untapped potential. I think that's kind of the biggest question, guys that don't have as many sample sizes. And also is always a big question for people coming out of the NCAA. The NCAA is a league that has such a different structure to how they play games. You'll play teams that are absolutely horrible and then teams that are complete rock stars. So you get such a mix in how much offensive production you put up. I'm always curious to see how that translates to the major leagues. So I'll see if he has a good tryout. But yeah, that is Tanner Andrew. Jack O'Leary fits into that Admirals section quite nicely, and it's a really nice bouncing off point from Tanner Andrew. He's also a guy who came through the NCAA system. He was 25 years old. He was born in Smithtown, New York. He is a forward who shoots right, so he could probably play on the right side. He grew up originally through the USHL system, playing for Cedar Rapids Rough Riders and the Lincoln Stars in his last year there. He then went into the NCAA system, and it's very interesting because the Moose have went to the NCAA a couple times. He played on Cornell University, which is a very good hockey program there. Most notably for Winnipeg Jets fans, Morgan Barron came out of Cornell University, Big Red. In his seasons there, he had 2 points in his first season, 11 games. Then he had 17 in 29. Then he had 15 in 35. And then he had 17 in 35 games. In the last 2 seasons, he actually wore an alternate captaincy, which is a great thing to see. He then finished the year with the Norfolk Admirals, 1 point in 6 games. However, in the playoffs, he had 3 and 9. I'm very curious to see if there's some untapped potential here. I think that's kind of what the Admirals are looking at too, considering the fact that they signed him on basically right out of college. The Moose signed a couple guys out of college too, but they didn't keep anyone after that. But I'm very curious because the Moose have a track record of guys who went through the NCAA system and the U Sports system, which we'll talk about later. But yes, Jack O'Leary could surprise people, but I'm very curious to see if he can take that next step into the AHL. Brendan Osmondson is a guy that I really want to watch with a lot of interest in this training camp. In terms of pedigree, I would argue that he has one of the strongest. He is a forward for the Norfolk Admirals. He has 26 years old, so he's on the older side of the guys that are there. He's actually going to be turning 27 this year in early December. I'm intrigued by his point totals, though. He originally came up through the NCAA 3 division, where he terrorized it. He had 42 points in 29 games, then 14 and 10, then 37 and 29, and then 25 and 29. But that's being a big fish in a small pond. He then plays a couple years in the SPHL. One is at the end of his time at Utica University, where he just plays 2 games, doesn't get any points. Then he plays for Huntsville Havoc. He gets 13 points in 16 games. He then gets picked up on loan by the ECHL for the Norfolk Admirals. He gets 29 points in 43 games, which is not a bad total, especially if you're a guy who's trying to fight to show that they belong in higher than the ECHL. He also had 4 points in 8 playoff games. Last year, he had 37 in 65 and 5 and 9. He outperformed some guys that were on AHL deals that played in the Norfolk Admiral. So I'm very curious to see if Brendan Osmondson, a proven goal scorer, can find that scoring touch and possibly work his way up into at least a contract, if maybe some playing time in the AHL. Connor Fedoruk is another guy from the Admirals type of category here. He is 26 years old. He's from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, USA. He is a defenseman. He's one of only 3 defensemen that were invited to camp this year. He's got quite an interesting road that he's been on, and it goes through the NCAA and it goes through the ECHL, and let's kind of talk about it here. So he originally started in the NCAA in Ferris State University, 5 points in 31 games, 3 points in 24, then no points in 12. Next year, he plays for Utica University, which is a Division III team. He gets 25 and 29, definitely proving that he belongs to at least be there. Then he goes to the ECHL, kind of in and out of the ECHL. He gets 4 points in 11 games with the Kalamazoo Wings. He then plays down in the SPHL for the Fayetteville Marksmen. He gets 3 points in 6 games, and then he's loaned for basically the rest of the season to teams like the Reading Royals, the Indy Fuel, and the Norfolk Admirals. For the Reading Royals, he gets 2 points in 3 games. For Indy Fuel, he gets 1 in 10. And then for the Norfolk Admirals, he gets 14 and 31, which as a defenseman is not bad at all. Last season, he had 18 in 67. He's also signed on, of course, with the Admirals for next season. Interesting. I don't think I see defensemen putting up massive amounts of points in the ECHL as a common event, so I'm very curious to see whether he can kind of prove himself there in the same way that Derek Louis-Jean proved himself a couple years back at training camp and eventually would win himself a contract with the Moose, even if he never did end up playing. So very curious. Jace Isley is the next Admirals member of the section here. Let's talk a bit about him. He is a center/left winger. He's 23 years old, so he is on the younger side of people that have been invited here. He's from Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. He's got some good hockey sense. He knows how to play the game. He's good defending, and he's hard on the forecheck. That was Brent Sutter, general manager and head coach, talking about him in 2019. Where did he play in 2019? That is the Red Deer Rebels to end the year. He went up through the WHL system, playing at one point. He peaked in the 2022-2023 season with 56 points in 67 games, including 6 points in 12 playoff games. He then played 7 games in the AHL with the Utica Comets. He got 1 goal, no assist. He also spent time in the ECHL with 23 points in 55 games. Next season, he split time with the Arnondock Thunder, 4 points in 9 games. And the South Carolina Stingrays, 13 points in 41 games. The South Carolina Stingrays, of course, being the Washington Capitals ECHL affiliate. Before signing with the Norfolk Admirals, I'm not sure what you're going to get out of Jace Isley. Nothing jumps off the page to me. I could be wrong. Maybe there are some intangibles there that we're missing right now. As of right now, I'm not sure what he's going to bring that's going to help him get a spot on the Moose roster. But you know what? It's always great. There's always people that can come surprise you. So if the Admirals are if these are the guys off the Admirals that they really like, it's worth a look. So yeah, that's Jace Isley. Braden Engum is a 2000 born. There's been a lot of 2000 borns in this training camp release from Burnsville, Minnesota, USA. He went through the NCAA system and the USHL system. So he went through originally playing for the Central Illinois Flying Aces. He recorded 0 points in 2 seasons. He is a defense, though, so it is worth noting that. He then played with the Waterloo Blackhawks in the USHL. He had 15 points in 46 games, 17 points in 49 games. He then played 5 years in the NCAA, and you know what? These are not bad colleges to play at. Let's first talk UMass Lowell, including one game where he was an alternate captain. Why does UMass Lowell may sound like it's at the edge of your brain for Winnipeg Jets fans? That is the college that Connor Hellebuck attended. That would be why. Not a powerhouse by any degree of the word, but they are in the top division. He had 1 point in 12 games, then he had 8 in 32, then he had 5 in 36, and then he had 4 in 34. His last year, though, and this is very interesting to me, I don't know whether he was traded or transferred. He then played, I imagine it'd have to be transferred if it's through the NCAA. He played for Boston University. He had only 2 points, but he was a +7, and he played 30 games with the club. They must have liked something that they saw there. This will be his first year actually turning pro. He does it at the ripe old age of 25. And I'm curious to see if he might not make, I don't think he's going to make it on the Moose this year, but another guy that's coming out of college that's got a bit of an interesting pedigree, even if maybe the points aren't there, he's a guy who could surprise. And I'm more curious to see what his first year at pro is going to be. I imagine he'll spend 99% of it will be spent in the ECHL, but I'm really curious about Braden Engum. Could be interesting. All right, now we move into the second section of players. There are 3 players that exclusively have the connections of it being from Manitoba or playing in Manitoba. The first one here is Johnny Hooker. Johnny Hooker is a 2001 born. He's 23 years old. He's from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. He played in the WHL. He went up through the Brandon Wheat Kings system. And it's very interesting here because he played with the Brandon Wheat Kings for 4 years. None of his point totals really stick out to me, his most being 13 points in 34 games in his last season with the team in 2019-2020. He was then traded to the Prince George Cougars. He had 7 points in 24 games. The next year, he was an alternate captain, which is impressive to do after only playing 1 season or part of 1 season, where he had 11 points in 18 games, probably his best production in terms of point per game pace. He was then the following year the captain, where he had 29 points in 63 games, and also, as of note, 62 penalty minutes in 63 games. Then he went into he played for the University of Manitoba at the Canadian U Sports League. First year, he gets 10 points in 24 games. The following year, he looks a lot better. He gets 23 in 28 games. Then in his last year, he had 30 points in 28 games. And this is a connection that the Manitoba Moose have been using a little bit more since last year, where they signed Colson Gangenbach to a tryout for the remainder of the year, basically, out of the UFC with the Calgary Dinos. I'm curious to see what they're looking for in players like that, because the U Sports has kind of been an untapped gold mine for players that have gone on to play semi-professionally. They haven't really made many pro players, but there could be a little bit of changing that. Now, I'm going to let Carter kind of talk about the next 2 guys that have great ties to Manitoba. One is Lucas Brent, and the other is Skylar Bruce, who also played for the University of Manitoba. Let Carter take it away.
So, not usually in a Moose Watch video, but then again, not usually is one of the guys I played hockey with or against in a Moose Watch video. So here we are. So there's 2 players that I'm going to be talking about today. Firstly, we have Lucas Brenton. I actually used to play hockey with Lucas Brenton when I was 9. We played on the River East Royals here in Winnipeg. And he then is done pretty well. We had played some defense together. He was a very offensively minded defenseman. I wouldn't say he was irresponsible, but was relatively quick for a guy his size. He's 6'4", 212 pounds. He's grown into a big dude, and yeah, he's done very well. Spent some time with the Winnipeg Sharks, playing AAA. Then went to U18. Winnipeg Thrashers, which then was kind of his natural road. He then got drafted by the Moose Jaw Warriors. I can't remember exactly which year it was, but they had won I want to say it's like the Ed Chenoweth Cup. It's the WHL championship that then gets you into the Memorial Cup tournament. And so last year he played with the Indy Fuel, and in 68 games he got 4 goals, 13 assists for 17 points. Again, I haven't seen him as of incredibly recent, so I'm not sure how much his game has changed, but that's kind of from what I remember. And then the other player that I'm discussing here is Skylar Bruce. Skylar Bruce I played against growing up. He played for the St. Boniface Seals. I played over here in River East, and so he had played Winnipeg Warriors for U14, and then spent some time in the RHA program where he had done relatively well, some good point totals. In CSSHL, he had gotten 40 points one year, 64 the next. And then he had spent some time with the Kootenay Ice. He had went and then played for the Winnipeg Ice when they were here. He played with the Vancouver Giants, the Edmonton Oil Kings, and I think most recently he was playing at the U of M, where he got 15 goals and 16 assists. And so he's not the tallest guy in the world. He's only 5'10", about 168 pounds, and he plays wing, but he's a quick kid. And can cause problems in that regard, and really good at kind of wearing the defense down in the offensive zone. I think that was probably the biggest challenge I had, even when I was a lot younger playing against him. So hopefully that's some good insight, but back to Zach.
And now we get into the third category, the mystery box. We have two players in that. One of them is Isaac Dufort. Isaac Dufort is 22 years old. Easily looks to be the youngest guy at the camp that does not have a contract. He's an 03 birthday from Laval. Actually, I believe Bruce and Brenton are also 03. So, there's a couple of 03s out there. Interesting career trajectory. I don't know, genuinely, if this man has ever left Quebec in his life. He played Quebec Junior Hockey League. He played in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. In the ECHL, he played on the one team from Quebec. I don't know if this man has ever been in Manitoba, ever. But nonetheless, let's talk about it. So let's talk about him in the QMJHL, the Como Jakar. I hope that makes sense if you cover the QMJHL. There's a reason I don't. First season, he had 9 points in 36 games. The following year, he had 30 in 68. The next year, his last year in the QMJHL, he had 41 in 61, and then he had 46 in 59. Not bad at all. And in his last year in the playoffs, he had 13 and 17. That is not a bad total at all. It's good. It's not exceptional. It's not incredible, but he's almost a point per game. And the guys that really stand out are usually the guys who are much higher than a point per game. But still, for the QMJHL, which is largely thought as the weakest of the three CHL leagues, that's still not bad. Last year, he played exclusively in the ECHL with the Trois Rivières Lions. Sick logo, by the way. It's like a fleur-de-lis that turns into a lion's face. We love that. 20 points in 56 games and 7 points in their 21 game playoff run. I'm curious what's here. I don't know enough about this guy. He's played, the sample sizes are so tough to look at. I think he's just going to be a mystery box until we figure out what his game is all about. I look forward to finding out, but I think that this year he's probably going to spend a lot of time in the ECHL. Maybe he'll be asked back next year. I don't know enough about him. I want to know more. But yeah, that was Dufort. And now we get to the last invite of the bunch, Blake Swetlikoff. Blake Swetlikoff is an interesting case. He's 22 years old from Regina, Saskatchewan. He has played through the WHL system, and he's had quite a lot of experience in the WHL. He's played in the WHL since COVID. Basically, he started with the Spokane Chiefs. He played originally on a Regina Pats junior team. He had 2 points in 11 games. The following year, he had 11 points in 21 games. Worth noting, he is a forward. He had 29 points in 62 games, then 19 in 34 with the Spokane Chiefs. Then he gets, during the course of that year, I guess, he was traded to the Lethbridge Hurricanes. He had 24 points in 30 games to end that season. Then he had only 9 points in 37 games, which then got him traded to the Kamloops Blazers, where he had 21 in 30 games. Last year, he spent his entire year in the ECHL playing for the Idaho Steelheads. He had 7 assists, no goals. A long junior career. leading up to an ECHL start that was a little underwhelming. I imagine he didn't get a lot of minutes. His plus minuses are not great. And you know what? And here's the important thing to note. A plus minus is a team stat as much as it is a player stat. We're just going to mention this, though, just for context. -6, -15, -16, 0, -12, -16, -10. He hasn't had a positive plus minus since they started recording that stat with his 11 games with the Spokane Chiefs in 2019-2020. It's not a bad thing. Maybe he's just surrounded by a lot of difficult situations. But so far, his team defense stats aren't amazing. So yeah, that is Blake Swetlikoff. I'm curious what we'll see from him, where he plays, if not here. I look forward to kind of running through all these numbers again later in the year, especially if somebody gets offered a contract. That's always exciting. But yeah, those were the 11 free agent, free tryouts, AHL tryout deals that were given out. We won't give you guys an update when they're cut. Just pay attention to the Moose stuff. If they do earn a contract, though, we will make a video on that. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We got one more video out today that is also a Moose Watch. Just a quick, short transaction of a man leaving. And that'll be all. And then we're ready to start the year. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we will see you next time.
Back again. Far side, quick shot. Deflected in front. They score! Cole Perfetti with a deflection. 1.6 seconds left in the third period. The Jets have tied it up at 3. Holy smokes!